But I'll tell you what happened Friday in this country in front of the world. I honestly don't know how to react yet. You know, I've been trying to process this over the weekend. The fact that the Russians are saying that the United States now, their words, largely aligns with the Russian vision. That's according to Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson for the murderous fucking dictator, Vladimir Putin. It's just, you know, I watch, and I'm sure we've all seen it now, over and over and over again, what happened Friday in the Oval Office. Especially that dumb fucking sewer rat who should be taken out and, I don't know, have his ass whipped for him real good. The creep who asked Zelenskyy why he didn't wear a suit? What the fuck? Jesus, what goddamn sewer shithole did that guy come from? And of course, the Ukrainian word for suit translates as costume. That's why Zelenskyy said, when the war is over, I'll wear a costume. He wasn't trying to be a smart ass. He was dealing with a bunch of smart asses. But as I watched that triple pronged attack on Zelenskyy, I just could not believe it. And Zelenskyy sitting there, there's a man who has been trying to steer his country through a vicious, murderous fucking attack by Putin, who is now using even more North Korean zombies to attack Ukraine. And fucking Trump sitting there with that little hand motion he does, like he's working a squeeze box or something, you know, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And using idiomatic English, the Trump, or American English, Zelenskyy doesn't know what he meant when Trump said, "You don't have good cards." What the fuck? And Zelenskyy says, "I'm not playing cards." And then Trump comes around, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're going to start World War III. No, you fucking orange-faced monkey. You are going to start World War III. But the Russians came out over the weekend and said that, the Kremlin spokesman, Peskov, said, quote, "The new administration is rapidly changing all foreign policy configurations. This largely aligns with our vision," end quote. So when Peskov talks about the United States aligning with the Russian vision, what do you suppose they're talking about? Financially? Aligning with Russia for world health? Aligning with Russia to stop disease? Aligning with Russia to work against global climate change? Aligning with Russia to find peace and decency and respect for all countries? No. What Peskov is talking about is the United States is aligning with Russia where it concerns fascist dictatorship. Fascist dictatorship. And this is something that Trump has just lusted after ever since this filthy toilet rat came out of the Bronx or wherever the fuck he came from. To have the kind of power that Putin has is what the toilet rat has been trying to get together his entire useless life. And now he feels like he's right on the cusp of being right there with his mentor, Vladimir Putin, a KGB fucking murderer. And this little shithole freak from Southern Ohio, J.D. Vance, what in the name of garbage is he doing in the Oval Office? What is he doing talking in his insulting, shitty way to a man who is worth 1,000 times J.D. Vance? And obviously, as has been pointed out, this was a setup. This was a setup that Trump and Vance decided to put into play once they emotionally disarmed Zelenskyy with the cordial greeting. And, oh, yeah, remember why Zelenskyy was there? He was there to sign away half of the mineral wealth of his country in order to continue to have support from the United States. That's why Zelenskyy was there. Trump and this fucking sewer rat, J.D. Vance, they were there to impress Putin. And they did. Now, what about the 300 million of us? I'm allowing for maybe 30 or 40 million Americans who aren't worth the powder to blow their asses to hell. What about the 300 million of us who do not want to be aligned with Russia where it concerns fascism, dictatorship? What about us? What are we going to do? There's only one thing we can do, and that is bring this fucking regime to an end. That is clear. I don't know how it couldn't be clear. Because Trump, being the psychotic old fucker that he is, he's not going to stop his move to please his mentor, the KGB bastard. Now, Trump's not going to stop. Why should he? There's nothing there to stop Trump. This checks and balances put together by the framers of the Constitution, that doesn't mean a fucking thing to Trump. And as far as the Christian devils who control the House and the Senate, they don't give a fuck either. Because, well, in the first place, Zelenskyy is a Jew. And the Christian fascists, yeah, well, you know, they may support the murderous war criminal Netanyahu, who's also a Jew. But that's different. That's different. Zelenskyy is the kind of Jew that the Christian fascists in the House and the Senate of the United States just can't seem to tolerate. Because he's fighting for freedom and decency and dignity. And these fucking Christians in the House and the Senate, they have no idea what decency, honor, respect, human rights, they have no idea what that means. And if anytime they try to define it, they turn to their fucking holy book, this goddamn garbagey New Testament. The Old Testament, to me, is a history. I don't give a shit about the Old Testament. It's a bunch of ravings by people that wandered around the desert for generations. But the New Testament, what a compendium of horse shit. But this is what the Christians are using. So here we are. They, Putin, to these Christian devils, they're not going to say a word because Putin is a Christian devil too. I don't know if any member of the House of the Senate, Christian member of the House of the Senate, still believes that it's godless communism in Russia. It isn't. It is Christian fascism in Russia. Putin depends on the Russian Orthodox Church to continue the suppression, the denial of human rights, the crazy fucking weirdness that only the Christian Church in all of its different permutations can exert on a population, especially a population like the Russians, who have had the population itself, the people have had their ass kicked for centuries. And every time they try to resist, whoever is in charge brings out the fucking murder machine. And there goes the resistance. We are in alignment with Moscow. Does that do anything to you? It just turns my fucking stomach. I mean, it really does. Because for the longest time, even when Russia was an ally during World War II, and after suffering 20 million dead of their own population, the Russians, they exerted such horrendous fucking slaughter on the Germans, on the Nazis, that's what brought the war to an end. Please don't think that the invasion of Normandy was the be-all, end-all of World War II. It was not. Had the Russians not been just absolutely slaughtering, viciously slaughtering, hacking up bodies, sawing frozen German corpses in half, if the Russians hadn't have been doing that, well, Nazism probably would have flourished, or the war would have gone on until we dropped a couple of nukes on Berlin. Oh, Jesus Christ, I hate this, don't you? I mean, what a thing to be talking about here, 200,000 years after human beings learned how to use fire or walk upright or something. Here we are, 250,000 years ago, and still doing this shit. And it is, whether we, I don't expect you to agree with everything I say on this crazy fucking podcast that I do. I get it, okay. But as far as I'm concerned, this religious fucking horse shit, I don't care if it's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. These three Abrahamic religions are fucking destroying the world. And they have been destroying the world. Now, granted, the Jews have so often been the ones being destroyed. The Christians have been the real fucking destroyers. The people, the mindset that burns and destroys and pollutes and corrupts and makes sick entire global populations. But we're stuck with it, aren't we? It's religious horse shit. So now we have an alignment seeming in its nascent stage, an alignment with two Christian fascist countries, Russia and the United States. Now, it's not to imply that the Russian people are Christian fascists. It's not to imply that the American people are Christian fascists. But the leadership in both countries is fascist, down to its fucking core. It is Christian fascist. And a real display of how Christian fascism works was readily available to anyone paying attention during or after what happened in the Oval Office on Friday. So, while we the people in this country are supposed to get used to the idea, I guess, that the Kremlin fucking murderer, Peskov, says that the United States now largely aligns with the Russian vision. I don't know how many people are paying any attention to that. I would imagine the average American is yawn. It was the Oscars last night. Who the fuck cares? I don't pay attention to that political shit. It had nothing to do with me. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the path down which the destruction of the United States is progressing. Doesn't bother me, I watched the Oscars. I don't want to hear all this other shit. Come on, Malloy. Jesus. Really? Well, on Sunday, as here in the United States, everybody was getting ready to watch 3-4 hours of television, European leaders rallied behind Zelenskyy in London. And while that was going on, Peskov, this goddamn toilet rat who speaks for the murderous Putin, said the Trump gang's new approach to destroying democracy is going to herald a thaw between Washington and Moscow. Peskov said, quote, "There is a long way to go because a lot of damage has been done to the whole complex of bilateral relations. But if the political will of the two leaders, Presidents Putin and Trump, is maintained, this path can be quite quick and successful." End quote. Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, this has been Putin's goal since he worked in the KGB. For whatever his motivations were, I really don't give a fuck at this point. I don't. If NATO overstepped its bounds at this point, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what this murderous goddamn savage Vladimir Putin, who's probably just as wealthy as the South African Nazi, who now sets U.S. policy, domestic and foreign, Elon Musk, But Vladimir Putin, since his days as a KGB operative, has been to drive a wedge between the United States and the rest of the world. The Russians hate the United States. And maybe they have good reason. I really don't give a fuck anymore. I don't. I don't care what the reasons are. Here's what I care about. This murderous son of a bitch, Putin, who invaded Moldova and destroyed Moldova, who owns Belarus, and who attacked Ukraine and has murdered several 100,000 people, his own people and Ukrainians, and has sucked his filthy pig Donald Trump right into what Peskov calls alignment with Russia, with their vision. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.